After I graduated from dental school, financial advisors told me that a 401k was the only reliable investment strategy for retirement. Now, I didn't know much about finances back then, so I took him at his word. Plus, no other options were given. He assumed that I was like his other dental clients, that I'd work until I was about 70 years old or until my back and neck gave out. He was probably thinking that he had 40 years of charging me fees for setting up accounts and then managing them my entire career. Why do you think 401ks are pitched to you as safe retirement plans, safe retirement savings programs, when in fact, these are very highly speculative, highly risky overfeed programs? Think about it. These financial advisors, they make money whether you do or not. So, of course, they want us to invest with them, right? This is why they never ever mention anything about making you or getting you to the point where you can retire early, because it wouldn't benefit them, as we'd more than likely stop investing with them. Now, if you're new to this channel, I'm Dr. Jeff Anzalone, a Louisiana periodontist that's on a mission to get you out of the rat race with passive income creation and not from your 401k. You can download the free passive income guide I put together just for you below this video. Now, before we go too much further, let's first discuss how a 401k works. So, what exactly is a 401k? A 401k is nothing more than a tax deferred savings plan that's offered through your employer. Now, if you're self employed like me, that's something that you offer to your employees. It's going to allow your employees to actually save a portion of each paycheck and invest it without dollars being taken out first. This tax deductible contribution reduces the amount you're taxed on in each paycheck. So the savings will actually partially offset the amount that you deduct. Taxes are going to be deferred until the money is taken out from the account or whenever you can access it when you reach the age of 59 and a half. Let's stop right there and let's think about this. This plan is actually designed to lock up your money for decades. This means if you start investing early, like in your 20s or 30s, you can't touch your money until you're 59 and a half. Why in the world would you put your money in prison? Well, when I ask myself that, I think back again, this was the only option that I was given when I first started my practice. What about you? Were you given any other choices when you first started working? Now, one of the big wake up calls people got regarding these 401ks was back in 2020 during the pandemic. So people were laid off. People like me were told that they couldn't practice, and we didn't even know when we'd be able to work again. People couldn't pay their bills, they couldn't pay their rent, and we had all this money, our money, your money, in these programs that we couldn't even get out. Now, that was the first time that I felt that this really wasn't my money. So I would have had to pay excess fees, taxes, penalties just to access the money, my money. I was looking around taking like about a 30 to 35% hit just to access my money. Crazy, right? So, what do the ultra wealthy think about 401ks? So, let's first start off with Grant Cardone. Now, when I met with him last year, one of the topics that he brought up had to do with 401ks. In case you missed our interview, you can check it out right up here. I'll put a link in this video. Now, he told me that, if he was actually working for somebody, he'd never invest in a 401k because he said, Jeff, why in the world would it make sense to have my employer give me an extra 6 grand a year, then send it to Wall Street where I can't touch it for another 30 or 40 years? And he also felt that retirement plans are nothing more than financial products that are pushed on us disguised as traps that prevent us from ever having a lot of money. Sound familiar? Now let's move on to what Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki thinks about this. Now, like Cardone, he also thinks that we should avoid investing in a 401k because he claims that Americans have zero financial education. So what do they do because of this? They just blindly hand over their money over to people who claim to be financial experts. Bad idea. Now, here's 4 of the reasons why Kiyosaki thinks that 401ks are a terrible idea. Number 1, taxes work against you. Now, typically the long-term capital gains are actually taxed at a rate 15 to 20%. But with a 401k, you're taxed much higher at the ordinary earned income tax rate. For many of us, maybe including you, that could be 37% or higher. Number 2, the early withdrawal penalty. you want access to your money before age 59 and a half? Well, if so, then you'll have to pay a 10% penalty. It appears that our government doesn't trust us enough to manage our own money without having to pay to play. Number three, you can't insure against a market crash. Now, in order to drive in most states, you've got to purchase car insurance. It's the law. Same goes with real estate investing. When I invest in a property, I must have insurance in case of damage. Yet, the 401k investor has no insurance to prevent losses against a market crash. And last but not least, 401ks are for people that actually want to retire poor. Why do you think financial advisors typically say when you retire, you'll be taxed at a lower tax rate? Well, they assume that you're going to make less money when you retire and thus will be in a lower tax bracket. Do you want to work for 30 or 40 years, get to the point when you retire and make less money and have to lower your lifestyle? I don't think so. So then why would you do all this to begin with? Doesn't make sense. So then if this doesn't make sense, why do so many people still invest in 401k plans? Well, here's actually 4 reasons. Number one, they're easy to use. Most of the time, your employer can actually automatically enroll you. Number two, there's a potential for a company match. The majority of companies, they offer some sort of matching contribution for an average of around 4% of a person's pay. The most common match research shows was about 50 cents on the dollar. Number three, to decrease your tax liability. Each time you invest in a 401k, you may receive actually a small reduction in your tax liability, which reduces what you owe to the IRS. And number four, tax deferral. If over the course of your career, the value of your 401k increases, then you'll be able to defer the taxes on those gains until you make the withdrawals. Remember, this is one of the main reasons that Kiyosaki feels that the 401k plans are terrible, because the fund distributions are going to be treated as ordinary income under whichever income tax bracket you fall into whenever you take the money out. So if you're a full-time practicing 62-year-old doctor in the highest tax bracket, then any withdrawals that you take out, they're going to be taxed at that top rate. Unfortunately, the IRS treats your entire 401k account, both the original contributions that you make and any gains, as ordinary income. And don't forget, more than likely, that you're going to owe state income tax as well. How's that for a financial future? So let's look at the cons of a 401k. Probably one of the biggest ones is you can't access it until you're 59 and a half. All right, so think about, when are you going to need money the most in your lifetime? It's usually during the years that you're raising your kids, right? So this is typically when living costs are the highest, yet a 401k won't be able to help with any financial instability that you have during this time. Number two, delayed matching and vesting schedules. One of the main strategies employers implement is they actually delay their 401k matching for the first year of their employees' time. Also, typically their vesting schedules are spread out over 4 to 6 years. So for example, on their website, Wells Fargo states that they actually match contributions dollar for dollar up to 6% of employees' pay on a quarterly basis after they complete 1 year of service with them. This works out great because the average length of employment is now about 4 years. So if a company like Wells Fargo delays 401k matching for a year when their employees only stay for an average of 4 years, they eliminate the need to provide matching for approximately 25% of their workforce. And with regards to a vesting schedule, this means that an employer may require a certain number of years of service before its matching contributions belong to the employee. Depending on your 401k plan terms and whether it has a vesting schedule, your employer may be able to recover some or all of its matching contributions. In short, it will take back money from you if you leave too soon. Good stuff, right? Number three, limited investing options. Another downside regarding 401k plans is that you're actually restricted with what you can invest in. Typically, you're going to be provided a list of approved mutual funds or ETFs. Access to real estate, which is my favorite wealth building tool, is non-existent. The only way to do this would be to actually roll your plan into a self-directed plan if your employer allows it. Number 4, high fees. According to a TD Ameritrade survey, 37% of people didn't believe they paid any 401k fees. 22% didn't even know about the fees, and 14% didn't understand how to calculate the fees that they paid. Typically, 401k plan fees can range anywhere from 1% to 3% each year that fall into three main categories: administrative fees, investment fees, individual service fees. And usually the amount that you're paying is hard to find unless you go through each mutual fund's prospectus with a fine tooth comb. And number 5, they are not used by the wealthy. If you take a look at the Forbes list of the richest people in the world, how many you think got there because of their 401k plan? That's right, 0. These people take a much different path to building wealth. And one of the more popular ways is investing in income producing investments. Cardone states that wealth is acquired by increasing your income, investing in income producing assets, and protecting as much of your income as possible. I tell new members of my passive investor circle group, which if you're an accredited investor and you want to join, I put the link below this video as well. I tell them to actually focus on getting really good at what they do, getting good at what they do for a living. So if you're a physician, if you're a dentist, if you're a specialist, if you're an attorney, whatever, you want to be the best you can be. If you're a physician or dentist, you can continue staying up to date with the latest technology, going to CME or CE courses. So in turn, you can provide your patients with more value. Now, if you provide more value in the marketplace, then you're going to make more money, right? The more you make, the more you can invest. And I agree with Cardone in investing in assets that produce income now to replace your income to get out earlier if you choose. Now that you've learned more about how 401ks work and how the wealthy really get rich, what do you think? Are you going to continue investing in your 401k plan, or do you want to focus on investing for cash flow to replace your active income now? Now, if you're serious about getting started, I want you to check out this next video over here where I'm going to discuss exactly where to invest your money today. I'll see you over here.